The number never moved. Printed in black ink. Clipped to a thin metal rail beneath a supermarket shelf in East Germany. The tag read 2.35 marks. In 1980, it still read 2.35. In 1982, it remained 2.35. By 1984, the paper had faded slightly. The edges had curled. But the number stayed untouched. In the West, the late 1970s were years of inflation. Oil shocks. Currency pressure. Rising consumer prices. Shoppers grew used to change. But inside a state-run supermarket in the German Democratic Republic, the price did not move. It was not market resistance. It was design. The socialist system promised stability. No sudden price spikes. No speculative shifts. No unpredictable markets. The state determined what goods should cost. And once fixed, those prices were meant to hold. Price stability was not just economic policy. It was ideological evidence. It suggested discipline, control, protection. The label beneath that jar was more than a price. It was a statement. This system does not fluctuate. This system does not panic. This system does not bend. At least, that was the surface. What the number did not reveal was that the system was bending constantly. Just not where consumers could see it. The jar behind the tag changed. The fruit content was reduced. The sugar ratio increased. The net weight decreased by a few grams. The glass became thinner. The number remained. 2.35 marks. The promise held. The substance adjusted. And that quiet adjustment became the foundation of the entire pricing system. In East Germany, prices were not discovered. They were assigned. Long before a product reached a shelf, ministries and planning committees determined its official retail value. The calculation was not based on supply and demand. It was based on targets. Production targets. Social targets. Political targets. Each product category had a planned price. That price could remain fixed for years. Factories did not set their own retail numbers. Retailers did not negotiate them. Even regional shortages could not legally alter them. Once printed, the tag became permanent. If production costs rose, the consumer price did not follow. Instead, the adjustment moved upstream. Subsidies were expanded. Losses were absorbed by the state budget. Or the product itself was modified. If imported inputs became more expensive, the factory had limited options. It could reduce quantity, lower ingredient quality, change packaging materials, stretch supply chains. But it could not change the number. The number was politically sensitive. Raising prices suggested instability. Instability suggested weakness. Weakness suggested failure of planning. So the number stayed. To maintain visible affordability, the state operated a system of cross-subsidization. Essential goods were artificially cheap. Other sectors quietly carried the burden. Energy was subsidized. Basic food staples were subsidized. Transportation fares were held below real cost. The difference accumulated in state accounting structures few citizens ever saw. This produced a strange effect. Inflation existed. But it did not appear as rising prices. It appeared as declining quality, as narrower selection, as slower replenishment, as occasional disappearance. The price tag remained a constant anchor in a drifting system. Over time, the rigidity created distortions. Factories had little incentive to innovate. Improvement did not lead to higher margins. Efficiency gains did not alter revenue. If a company produced more efficiently, its retail price did not change. Its budget allocation did. Predictability replaced responsiveness. On paper, this created stability. In practice, it created stagnation. Retail shelves began to reflect the strain. Gaps formed. Substitutions increased. One brand replaced by another with nearly identical packaging but different contents. Consumers learned to read beyond the number. They compared texture. They compared durability. They compared availability. They understood that the price tag did not tell the whole story. But officially, the number was proof. Proof that the system worked. By the early 1980s, the pressure intensified. East Germany relied heavily on energy imports from the Soviet Union. Hard currency was limited. Western goods became increasingly visible through television signals that crossed the border. Comparison became unavoidable. In West Berlin, prices fluctuated. They rose and fell. Competition existed. Choice expanded. In East Berlin, the tags remained still. The contrast was subtle but persistent. The state could not easily adjust prices without signaling systemic stress. So adjustment took other forms. Queues became longer. Restocking became unpredictable. Consumers arrived early to secure basic goods. The tag reading 2.35 marks remained in place, even when the jar behind it was temporarily absent. The number was stable. The shelf was not. Parallel markets emerged quietly. Certain goods traded informally. Value was renegotiated outside official channels. The difference between official price and lived value widened. The tag was no longer a measurement. It was a constraint. A fixed number in a system that was losing flexibility. By refusing to move the price, the system removed its own ability to signal imbalance. There was no visible warning. No gradual adjustment. No incremental correction. Pressure accumulated invisibly. And when rigid systems accumulate pressure without release, they do not adapt. They fracture. In 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell, East German consumers crossed into Western supermarkets. They encountered aisles where prices changed regularly. Sometimes weekly. Sometimes daily. Variation was normal. Adjustment was expected. For some, the fluctuation felt chaotic. But it also felt responsive. The faded tag reading 2.35 marks belonged to another logic. A logic where stability was enforced, not discovered. The paper had aged. The number had not. But the world around it had shifted dramatically. The price tag that never changed was never evidence of economic strength. It was evidence of a system that could not react. When it finally did react, it did so abruptly. Not through price reform. Through systemic collapse. The number stayed fixed. The structure did not. And for years, That small printed label had quietly revealed the cost of refusing to move.